And welcome to part 154 of this fabulous book. Muhammad Sal'lal'laa'hu A'lay'hi Was'sal'lam is life based on the earlier sources, and we are busy with chapter number 50, preparations for battle. As we mentioned in the previous episode, the Prophet ﷺ got news in Medina from his uncle Abbas, very urgent message that the Quraysh are on the way to Medina for warfare with a heavily armed force of more than 3,000 soldiers and minimum 700, and they're fully armored in full battle gear, like how the Knights of the Round Table, with helmets, visors, armor plating, coats of mail, and with the horses, very powerful, and 3,000 of the soldiers. By the time the Prophet ﷺ got the news, even though the messenger went the normal 8-day journey from Mecca to Medina, it normally takes 8 days. This messenger went on a very fast horse, and it only took him 3 days. But by the time the news arrived to Medina, Quraysh had already left Mecca and the army was on its way. Right. So by the time the letter arrived, Quraysh had already set out. Abu Sufyan, the commander-in-chief, took with him Hind, his wife Hind. We remember in the Battle of Badr, Hind's father was killed, her uncle was killed, and her brother was killed, and she's out for revenge. So commander-in-chief Abu Sufyan took with him his wife Hind and also a second wife. Safwan likewise brought 2 wives, other chiefs 1 only. Jubair, the son of Mutim, remained in Mecca itself, but he sent up with an army an Abyssinian named slave of his name Washi. And this is a very important person who we'll remember for a very long time, who was instrumental in the treacherous martyrdom of Hamza radiallahu anhu. So, the Abyssinian Washi, who like many of his countrymen, an expert at throwing the javelin, the spear. Washi had seldom been known to miss his mark, and Jubair said to him, "If you slay Hamza, Muhammad Sallallahu uncle, in revenge for mine, you are a free man." Hind came to know of this, and during the halls, whenever she passed Washi in the camp or saw him passing by, she would say to him, "Go to it, you father of darkness, slake and then gloat." She had already made it clear to him that she also, as well as his master, had a thirst to be slake and reward for the slaker. So if you see that movie, The Message, then you would see how Washi is practicing throwing his javelin, practicing throwing his spear, right? Because he's an expert from Abyssinia, from Africa. And if you know the tribes of Africa, in northern Africa, in Kenya, Tanzania, the Masai Mara warriors, they can jump very high on their feet. Woo, 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 woo. These warriors are fearless. They will attack a lion and they will kill a lion just with their spears. The Masai Mara warriors are superb warriors from the African continent, and Washi is from the African continent. So Hind wanted revenge. She said, "I will chew the liver of Hamza radiallahu anhu because he killed my father." Because you remember at the battle, I don't know if I've got that picture here, at the battle of Badr, there were 3 main fighters, and here we recall that there was Ali radiallahu anhu, then there was Hamza radiallahu anhu, and then there was Ubaidah radiallahu anhu. And the family of Hind was this: Utbah was the father of Hind, right? So Utbah was her father, he was killed, and then Shayba was her uncle. Shayba was the uncle of Hind. He was killed by Hamza radiallahu an. And then the brother of Hind is Al-Walid. Al-Walid was killed by Hamza, right? But in the first fight, Ali killed this one. Hamza killed this one. This one is still alive, halfway alive. Then Hamza came, and then he killed this one also when this one was injured, right? So Hind has got a special hatred for Hamza radiallahu anhu, because you must remember, Hamza radiallahu anhu subhanallah was a very famous soldier, a very fearsome warrior, because he is a lion hunter, lion killer. Now in a man-to-man fight, Hamza radiallahu anhu can easily defeat his foe. But in this case, Washi knew that Hamza is a formidable opponent, and we will come to it later as the battle starts. So Hamza knew, excuse me, Washi knew that the only way he can get rid of Hamza radiallahu anhu is by having a treacherous aim at his back. So he initially, while Hamza was in the battle, fighting this one, fighting that one, fighting. Hamza just stood for a while, just resting on his sword like this, and Washi was behind him at his back, crawling. Washi was not interested in any of the fighting. He just only had one target, Hamza, and he wanted the back of Hamza. He was not prepared to face him front to front. So he was waiting to see, okay, now Hamza is attacking that one, now that one, now he's tired. Now Hamza is just resting, just to pick up his sword again, and just as Hamza just rested, Washi then threw his spear through him. And then he made sure he was dead. He took out his spear, he ran away, going to go show it to Hind. You see, yeah, I killed him. Very treacherous death, very treacherous, not a fair death at all, right? So Hind made it very clear as they were going towards Medina, you're a slave, you want your freedom, you bring me the liver of this Hamza. I'm only interested in Hamza. You bring him to me and I'll shower you with your freedom, I'll shower you with money as much as your body can carry, and you got your freedom. So for this man, it's worth it. Remember, Washi is not interested in the Battle of Uhud. He's not interested in an Arab fighting an Arab. He's not interested in that. The only thing he wants is his freedom. That's the only thing he's interested in. So whoever he kills, how he kills them, it's not important. He wants his freedom, and he says he's going to make sure that his arrow is going to hit the mark by hook or by crook. And this is by crook, right? The emigrants and helpers, the Ansar and the Muhajirin, still had a week before the enemy could be upon them. But within that time, room had to be made inside the walls of Medina for all those who lived in the outlying parts of the oasis. So this is now a time for mass deployment and mass bring all the outlying people from Medina into the inner fortified place of the city, and for all those together with the animals. The animals also had to be brought within the Medina, the city itself. This was done, and not one horse, camel, cow, sheep, or goat was left outside the city walls of Medina. It remained to be seen what the Meccan plan of action was. News came that they were taking the western route near the coast, so they were going across the Red Sea. In due course, they turned inland and made a brief halt about 5 miles west of Medina. Then they marched northeast for a few miles and camped on a strip of cultivated land in the plain below Mount Uhud, which overlooks Medina from the north. So they came right around Medina. They came right to the north where is the Mount Uhud, right? So they came around north of Medina, excuse me, which is the weak part of Medina. Remember, Medina is fortified on the sides by volcanic lava tracks, and on the south by all these orchards and farmland, agricultural land. An army cannot invade Medina from the south, an army cannot invade Medina from the east, an army cannot invade Medina from the west, an army can only come from the north. So in this particular case, they came round by the Red Sea, and they came to the north by the mountain Uhud, and they waited there. It's right, now we wait for the Prophet. Let's see what happens. If he comes out to meet us, we'll meet him. If not, we're going to attack Medina. So their intention was to invade Medina and destroy the Prophet ﷺ and destroy the Muslims once and for all. So the Prophet ﷺ sent out scouts who returned the next morning with the information that the number of enemies was indeed exactly as what the letter of Abbas radiallahu anhu. So the information that Abbas relayed to the Nabi ﷺ was absolutely accurate. They say there was no error in this message. It is a formidable army. It is 3,000 and many others. So it was a vast army from horizon to horizon, and it was a formidable sight to see. Quraysh had with them 100 men of Thaqif and also contingents from Kinana and other allies. The 3,000 and more camels and 200 horses were eating all the pasture and all the yet unharvested crops to the north of the city, and not a grain of leaf was left of the greenery of the harvest of the people. So the people of Medina are agricultural people. Now imagine you've got 3,000 camels who are for the soldiers, plus many more camels who are carrying their loads. So about 5,000 camels and horses are there just eating all the farmland, all the harvest of the people of Medina. So already it was a loss for the people of Medina, and economic loss. The army showed no signs of being ready for any immediate action. So the army just came there relaxed. They say, we got time on our hands. We got our animals, got a lot of food to graze. Medina is an oasis. We got no worry about water, no worry about food, and we're going to park. So nonetheless, the city was closely guarded that night, And the two Sa'ds of the Sa'd of Aus and the Sa'd of Khazraj, that is Sa'd ibn Mu'ad and Sa'd ibn Ubadah, insisted on keeping watch outside the Prophet ﷺ's door, and with them was Usayd and a strong bodyguard to make sure that the Prophet ﷺ was not harmed in any way from any treachery from the side of the Meccan Quraysh. The Prophet ﷺ himself was as yet unarmed. The Prophet ﷺ did not say, right, let's go into battle. He was still pondering the options, so he did not yet put on his armor. But he dreamed that he was wearing an impregnable coat of mail and that he was mounted on the back of a ram. His sword was in his hand, and he noticed a dent in it. Now, if there's a dent in the sword of a prophet, it is not a good sign. And he saw some kine, which kine means cows, which he knew to be his, and they were sacrificed before his eyes. The next morning he told his companions what he had seen, and he interpreted his dream as follows with regard to the follows, and I quote, "The impregnable coat of mail is Medina." That means my armor that I saw in my dream, that is the city of Medina that cannot be penetrated. And the dent in my sword means it is a blow that will be struck against myself. That means I will be injured in some way. But Medina itself cannot be harmed, but I will suffer an injury on myself. And the sacrificed cows that I saw are some of my Sahaba, some of my companions that will be martyred in this battle that is looming ahead of us. And as to the ram upon which I rode, that is the leader of their squadron, whom we shall slay, inshallah, if God wills. So the leader of their squadron, we will slay that leader, but we will suffer some injuries as well. So his first thought was not to go out from the city, but to stand a siege within its walls. So the dream said Medina is a fortress. It cannot be penetrated. So the Prophet ﷺ followed the advice of his own dream, which is a prophecy or which is inspiration, which said, don't go out of Medina. Medina is protected, don't go out of Medina. He nonetheless wished to have his opinion confirmed by others, for it was by no means a conviction to be held as a consultation. So, as was his wont, he said, okay, let me suggest this to the Sahaba. Let us see what is their opinion. Let's see what we can do. Abdullah ibn Ubay, the chief of the hypocrites, was the first to speak. He said, our city is a virgin that has never been violated against us. Never without severe losses have we gone out from her to attack an enemy. And none have entered her against us, but it is they who have suffered the losses. Therefore, let them be, O Messenger of God. Wretched will be their plight so long as they stay, and when they return, they will return dejected and frustrated in purpose with no good gain. So, in this particular case, Abdullah ibn Ubay, the greatest enemy, in this case, he agreed with the Prophet ﷺ and said, let us stay within the walls of Medina. We will be able to defend ourselves as long as we are within Medina. So in this particular case, really, he agreed with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A large number of the older companions of both the emigrants, the Muhajirin and the Ansar, inclined to the opinion of Abdullah ibn Ubay. So many of the older veterans, senior veterans of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they said, okay, we agree, let's just stay within the walls of Medina. We can defend our city properly from here. We've got all the outlying people within in safety. We've got all the animals inside. We are safe. This is like a fortress. Let them come. We will show them. We will give them a taste of what they came for. So the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, stay in Medina and put the women and the children in the fortresses. Only when he had thus spoken did it become apparent that most of the younger men were burning with eagerness to march out against the enemy, the young blood. They said, no, what we're sitting here like in Medina, like old people, we're not scared of this Quraysh. Let's go and fight, because the young ones who did not take part in the battle of Badr, they lost out on the glory of winning the battle. So they were keen. They said, no, let's go. We beat them at Badr. We can beat them again. Let's go. They will run back to Mecca and we'll get all the booties of war. So the young ones were very, very enthusiastic, and they just want to go out of Medina. They say, no, man, it's only old people who sit in Medina. We need to go out. So they said, oh, Messenger of God, said one of them, Ya Rasulullah, lead us forth against the enemy. Let them not think we are afraid of them. Let them not think that we are too weak, but we are not scared of them. Those words were met with a murmur of approval from different parts of the assembly. And others said much the same, with the added argument that the inactivity and the failure to take reprisal for their devastated crops would only serve to embolden Quraysh against them in the future. not to speak of the tribes of Najd. So Hamza radiallahu anhu and Sa'd ibn Ubadah radiallahu anhu and others of the more experienced now began to incline towards this view. He said, okay, look, that makes a bit of sense. Why? We're not going to show we're scared of them. Plus, they ate all our crop from the farmlands. We can't let that go unpunished. Let's just go and let's sort them out. So one of them said, at Badr, you had but only 300 people, and God gave you mastery over them. And now we are many more, and we have been hoping for this occasion and praying God for it, and He has sent it to our very door. They have come to our doorstep. We don't even have to go out to look for them. They are here on our doorstep. Let's see what happens in the next episode. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.